Since we're all talking about the vaccine, hi, I'm Marilyn.
Hi, Marilyn.
Welcome, Marilyn.
Hi. I was just seeing something. I don't know how many of you like Seinfeld, but there was a comedian talking about if Seinfeld was doing something now in context of COVID. So here's what that's what he said. He said, George would pretend he had COVID so that he could have 2 weeks off of work. Kramer would be making bootleg hand sanitizer in his bathtub. Elaine would date a pharmacist so she could be first in line for the vaccine. And Jerry would break up with a beautiful woman because her nose came over her mask, and he would call her a nose nudist.
Slow down so I can write those things down. Oh wait.
It's perfect. I can imagine it. I can see the whole thing happening. It was so well done.
Marilyn, this is a really good start. I think you're going to have to come every Tuesday.
Hey, I'm happy to. This is a big old group. I didn't even realize there was page 2. I just went over to, wow.
Yeah.
A lot of
entertaining.
Yeah. How many do you have in your club?
We have about 107 total in the club, but we usually see between 50 and 60 on these meetings on a regular basis.
Nice.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us today. I can't wait to hear your presentation.
Yeah, you're in what I keep singing a song from Victor Victoria because it was and now they play it from Steamboat Springs to La Paz. So you're in the movie Victor Victoria.
I did not know that.
Marge and we both like theater, we discovered.
Oh, Margie, are you into theater?
And you can both sing.
Baby.
Julian, we've hit our quota of 2 chiefs on the call, so I think we can.
All right, we can get started then. All right, Mark, will you welcome everybody? Will you bring up the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Please take yourself off mute so you don't just hear me. And here we go. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I so appreciate hearing your voices. And on to the 4-way test of the things we think are
beneficial to all concerned.
Thank you.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Larry Winogle, thank you for doing Thought for the Day today.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm honored. Shall I do it right now? Mark, can you let me share my screen?
You bet. You should be.
Okay, so I thought I would try to do something somewhat uplifting and somewhat tongue-in-cheek today, and list what I feel are silver linings of the quarantine for the last however many months it's been. So bear with me. I'm going to go through 10 slides pretty quick. You have an opportunity to be more mindful. There's added value of all these new age forms of communication like Zoom and Skype and FaceTime. You have more time to delve into complex issues, more time to read, write, compose, hopefully to be creative. And hopefully if you're working from home, you don't have to commute and have more time that way as well. Anyway, I think it's true that many of us have had a better appreciation of family and friends, as I have. It's my middle daughter and the blonde crew. You have more time for projects and home improvements. I think everybody is doing some kind of a project or home improvement. And mine was to light up the neighborhood for the Christmas season.
Larry, we're not seeing your screen.
Shoot. No, you got me.
No, I can see your face.
Yeah, I see it is fun.
He's He's trying to do a share screen as well.
Can you ask him to share screen, Mark, from your end?
I don't know that I can do that.
You have a green arrow along the bottom bar. It's in,
Move your mouse around and there's a little green arrow down at the bottom of your screen. It says share screen.
Clicked it 3 times now.
Okay, well.
Doing a great job without the, oh.
There we go. Got it.
All right, I'm going to start over again.
I'll just edit this out of the recording, Larry. Don't worry about it. Nobody will ever know.
Okay, so tongue-in-cheek, hopefully uplifting some of the silver linings of being quarantined. Opportunity to become more mindful, the added value of all these new age forms of communication, more time to delve into complex issues, more time to read, write, compose, to be creative. Working from home eliminates the commute, so you have more time there as well. So I can speak for myself, a better appreciation of family and friends. This is my middle daughter, Kendra's crew. We call them the Blonde Crew. More time for home improvement projects. Mine was pretty much during Christmas to decorate the neighborhood with lights. More time to get to know someone deeply. This is my oldest daughter, Katie, and my son's girlfriend, Madison. Whoops, I'm sorry. More time to appreciate nature. Just a couple of pictures of the neighborhood here. Time to enjoy some really good cooking. This is 3 years ago in China when I was speaking at a international conference in Taishan, and food there was really outstanding. More time for exercising, being outdoors. This is our trip to the Colorado Monument with the Old Town Adventure Club earlier this year. Good sunsets, Paradise, Colorado on the left, and 34th Street in New York City on the right. Better time to better appreciate the power of positive thinking. This is my son, Chris. He was paralyzed with Guillain-Barré disease earlier in the year, but had really positive thinking throughout a really tough 3 months of paralysis. And he's gained back about 90% of his weight, and he'll be up in Fairbanks, Alaska, smoke jumping early next spring. I'm pretty positive about. And time to thank everyone special, as in the thank-you-ary. So that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Larry.
Thanks.
That was great, Larry. Would you mind sending that to me so I can include it and everyone can reflect on it?
Sure.
Thank
Happy
you.
to.
Thank you. I tried to keep up and type in it, but I couldn't do it. Let's take a moment to introduce our guests and visiting Rotarians, please. Marilyn, we'll give you a good formal introduction in just a minute. Sarah, you want to go? You're on mute.
There we go. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah. I think I've been to maybe 5 of the meetings over the last quarter or so, and I'm looking forward to hopefully joining the group. And thank you so much for the Seinfeld reference at the beginning. I love that.
Anyone else on here?
Hi, Chuck Sarasoli is back.
Oh, Chuck, you're not a member yet?
I think this might be my last meeting before my application is submitted.
Excellent.
It's great to see everyone. Thanks for having me again.
I have Jack. Only kidding, Chuck.
Great. Everybody else is a Rotarian. There are so many of you here. Thank you for being here. Are there any announcements that anybody would like to share?
You don't sing the Welcome to Rotary song?
We don't sing. No, we don't sing.
Such a good song.
You'll be really happy to know that we don't sing.
Good little song. Good little song.
Not the song.
Song. All right, no announcements. I'm going to make a quick announcement about Thankyuary. Thank you to everybody that's participated so far. But the big message on January 12th is that if you haven't started, don't let that hold you back. Thankyuary is not about rules or not doing enough. It's about what you do send out in a thank you. So Carol's still got cards down at her shop if you want to go pick some up, or if you want to write your own, however you want to do it. Don't be intimidated by the date. Just participate in any way that works for you. And I think that we'll start seeing another wave of it as people start to receive their thankyuaries, that the feeling is just going to keep perpetuating, and it's a good feeling. Angela says the cards are done in packs of 10, so you don't have to get 30. Thank you, Ange. All right, if that is it, Margie, would you like to introduce our program today, please?
I'll do the best I can. So Marilyn Lowney is from Connecticut, and she's spoken at the Fairfield Rotary Club several times. Marilyn's been going to Haiti since she was 14. She has a master's in education and a master's in public health. She's been working officially for the Haitian Health Foundation since 2000. She wrote me some other little notes that I could say, but I think I'll skip it. So Marilyn, take it away.
The other thing I wrote to Marge was that I am, out of the 4 children, I'm the favorite. That was one of the, and that I've been compared to Angelina Jolie in my gorgeousness. That's what she didn't want to say that part. But thank you for having me. I'm so thrilled. That, you know, and it's interesting, during Larry's opening, this is another, it's actually something I was saying last week. I said, you know, it really has made the world a little bit smaller, because I'm able to come to Colorado. This normally would have really probably never happened, right? I mean, probably not, but to have this opening that I'm all the way there. In fact, I was there right at noon today, and then Mark told me it's mountain time. So I'm
very punctual, very punctual.
I was there saying hello. So what I'm going to do is I'll go through a PowerPoint, and what I do is talk a little bit about the history, how we got started, and some of the Rotary involvement. It's all, you know, it's people that are around here, but I'm going to try to share my screen. Okay.
Looks good over here.
All right, good. So we're the Haitian Health Foundation. It's our name. You can see we've updated with the masks. Some of Haiti's need. You can see here that's a very, very impoverished country. We talk about non-literacy versus illiteracy, which the non-literacy is more that you haven't had the opportunity to learn rather than the ability to learn. You can see unemployment's high, very low life expectancy. And it's only about 90 minutes from Miami, really close neighbors. Basically everything that you take that makes your life pleasant, you know. The other thing I ask is that you look at these photos in the context of COVID and communicable diseases. So, you know, 90 minutes from Miami. Now, especially now, there's been a lot of political problems in addition to COVID, which has made food and other basics really skyrocket when it's even available. So some of the nutritious food isn't even available, and when it is, it's really expensive. So our country director told me just last week they were trying to get rice, so they went to one marketplace. The rice is full of worms, the other one's full of worms. It's terrible. It's a terrible situation. You can see this, look at this in context of COVID. One of the things that we do twice a year is prophylactically deworm the children, because children get intestinal worms from the terrible sanitation. I took this photo on the left. It's right in downtown Jeremy, where we are. People don't have electricity. They don't have running water. It's usually the children's job in the morning to go and collect water for the rest of the day. A 5-gallon bucket is 40 pounds. So it's a heavy thing. When people do work, it's very high. It's very hard work, hard physical work. There's very little formal labor. It's all informal jobs. So people really don't have the security of like like when they work for us at Haitian Health Foundation, they get maternity, whatever the rules are for the country, your sick time. But when you're working in an informal job like this, you don't have any of those protections. Here's some typical kitchens out in the countryside. Some typical housing. And you can see the thatch, see the vermin are able to get in very easily. And it's about 5 to 8 people per family is about average. So they'd be living in a house like this. Think about all sorts of bugs and rats getting in. So we started in 82. My father started going down. This is a picture of him. And he's a dentist. And he went down in 82 to do dental care with some of Mother Teresa's sisters in Port-au-Prince. And he really fell in love with the place. He just had hundreds of patients a day. At that time, all you could do is extractions. It was just extract teeth. It was people's mouths were just disaster. It was impossible to do any kind of fillings, things like that. So when he was there on his first trip, he went into one of Mother Teresa's orphanages, and he was drawn to this child, and he picked her up, and he's holding this child. And while he was holding her, she died in his arms. And he talks about this story as, this epiphany that he said, this child didn't die of a disease or some kind of, congenital defect. This child starved to death. The child died from what we all waste, food. And he made a commitment that day. He said, I'm going to keep coming back. And he would go back every 3 months. And he always worked with Mother Teresa's sisters because they spoke English. They were very organized, and they served the poorest of the poor. So he would work with them. Now, that was every 3 months, he would go down, and he would always bring a family member with him. So that's why when I went down, I was about 14 years old. And my job all week was to clean the dental instruments and fill syringes and clean the dental instruments. And at 14 years old, Haiti slapped me right across the face. Boom. This is probably why we have our family is very humorous. We do have a sense of humor, because otherwise you're going to cry. Life is very unfair. So that's a little bit about our history. After going back and forth, my dad used to talk to Mother Teresa on the phone, and she asked, would he go to this place called Jeremy, which is his name in French. His name is Jeremiah. So he said, I have this living saint asking me to go bring my dental care to a place that's my name in French. So that is how the Haitian Health Foundation was born. So in 85, we moved out to Jeremy. My parents put a lot of their own money into it and a few friends to build a clinic. And at that point, we started fundraising. Oh, this is 140 miles, and it takes about 7 hours by car. It used to take 14 hours by car, so the road's gotten really good. We usually take a little plane. So our mission, we're really a maternal and child care is our main mission, and we care for, now it's over 250,000 people. That's in Jeremy, and then in the rural mountains around Jeremy. So some of the people will walk 15 hours to get to our clinic. This is our main clinic in Jeremy, and it's got pharmacy, and we have the only x-ray for at least 100 miles around. We do all the x-rays for the hospital. We have an excellent pharmacy, a lot with pre and post natal care, well baby. And here is the bottom floor there where it says Clinic Pet Bon Dieu. The people named it back in the 80s, Clinic of the People of God. So we call it Clinic Pet Bon Dieu. And the first floor is all storage. So we have a lot of storage of food and equipment. And then it's the second, that's the a lot of offices. And then our clinical is on the second floor. The third floor is a residence. So when people go down to Haiti for the week, they stay up there, and that's where our country director lives with her husband. You can see we've come a long way from extractions. We're able to do some really impressive restorative dentistry with our excellent Haitian dentist there. Now down the street from the center, from the clinic, is the Center of Hope. And this is another facility. This is for women in the mountains that have some kind of problem with their pregnancy. So I told you at 8-10 hours, people will walk. So if they have a problem with their pregnancy, they're not able to get to care in time. So we have quite a few health agents that live out in the rural mountains, and they keep track of their of all of the patients. So they know all of the signs of why a woman would have to leave her village and come to the Center of Hope. Usually it's something like pregnancy, diabetes, preeclampsia. We've got multiples, you know, twins, triplets, woman too old, woman too young, all these different reasons that they stay there. And in addition to being an overnight residence, it's also for people who are a little more local to come in, the women, to get their pre and postnatal care. They get a lot of family planning options, which can go anywhere from, if they're religious, they can have natural family planning. We give them the whole gamut. A lot of education is done here also. That's the Center of Hope. Now, the other side of the Center of Hope was for very malnourished children, children that were so malnourished that they couldn't just be fed. They need to be fed by gastric tube. You can see here, Bredner came in, and what a difference 6 weeks makes of good nutrition. But the excellent news about this that I want to tell you, because when we talk about Haiti, it's really easy to get discouraged. You say that deforestation, look at the politics, look at the lack of food, the lack of water. We're starting to make a difference with malnutrition. In 3 years, we haven't seen one of these children come through because we're able to assess them in the village before they got into this extreme state. So that's one of the very positive things that when we're looking at Haiti and accomplishment, this lack of, not so much more malnutrition. My dad just came in. I want to introduce you. He's the founder. You just saw him in the picture. Just come and wave. Do a little wave to the Colorado Steamboat Springs.
Hello.
So
let me
that's
get down here.
Yeah, they can see you. So there he is. There's the founder back in '85.
The old man.
Giving you the wave. Oh, he's calling himself an old man. All right, all right. So he and my mom still volunteer here. Every day they're in raising money. So
Lifetime volunteer.
Lifetime volunteer. I'm not letting him go anywhere. All right. So now we've got health. That was a little bit of health. Now we get into development. I showed you some of the houses, so you can see the houses that we built. They're called a Happier House. And I know Fairfield Rotary Club, Marge is very familiar with these things. You can see the difference between the old house and the new house. They've got a nice steel tin roof. Cement. And when we first were building these, one of the donors, the person came out so happy, and the donor said, "Oh, look how happy they are. This is a happy house," and we named it that. It also includes a little light and a microflush toilet. And these toilets use the process of earthworms to break down the refuse. And in 2-3 years, you can pull out a little container, and it's called humanure. You can use it on your garden. So we also have a goat program where we give people female breeding goats, and they're able to take the goat and raise have a litter, be able to sell some of the kids. I said that in a school once. I said that people sell their kids, and the kids freaked out, and the teacher had to explain that a kid is a baby goat. Here I am traumatizing the children. But the gift of a goat is a beautiful gift. You get a picture. People get this for their birthdays. For we had a last year, a person said, I want to buy a goat for a wedding present. So she bought the goat, and then she called a couple of days later and she said, the wedding is being held on Tavern on the Green in Central Park. So I have to get them another goat because this is at least a 2-goat wedding. She said it was such a nice wedding. So, you know, we can have a little fun too. You're Rotarians, you know, you can have fun when you're fundraising. So that's goats. We also have what's about 3,500 now children in schools, 82 schools. It's otherwise children have to pay to go to school. It's not free, it's not mandatory. So we put thousands and thousands of children through school. Save a Family, this is my mother in the lower left-hand corner. She runs the Save a Family program, which is basically a family sponsorship program. Our country director is over here to the right. Her name is Nadesha. And so what that does is it helps with any kind, it's almost a social work program where it helps that particular family with what they need. One family, if it's an older couple, they may need more food and rent support. Another one may need more support for the children for school. So that's run by my mother. These are some Rotary projects over the years that I thought that you all might be interested in. Rotary would always take a project and had to turn it into their own. So we had the Creole Pig Project, that was in the 80s. We named the stud pig Roto after Rotary. So that's him, that's the famous Roto. We actually would bring in semen from the University of Connecticut because Roto can't impregnate all of the sows. That was a very, very successful program. Right now, all of that's a whole nother, I could talk about the pigs for an hour. Give a Goat. There was an excellent district governor called Dick Benson, and he named his he named the program Dick's Kids, and when there was little buttons and people had it. Paul's Potties was a latrine project. Before we did the microflush toilets, we were doing Paul's Potties, and I know that everybody in everyone in our district in Connecticut bought at least one potty. And we had a birdhouse somebody made, and they would have that at the Rotary Club and put change in it. And it looked like a potty. And I wanted a picture of Paul Burns sitting on it, like on a popsicle stick. And he said, no, he said, that picture makes me look constipated. And I said, well, that's the point, Paul. You know, you're sitting on a toilet. He did. So anyway, there's a limit some people will go. But here's the Interact House, which is, that was a lot of Interact students raised money for this. And it's been everything from volunteer housing. We've had other charities be in it. It's right on our grounds of our clinic. Right now it's our COVID, when our medical personnel come in, they go through this building first, they're sanitized, they have their shoes done, they're tested. It's a different entrance. It's been used for a lot of things. We had a playground that the district put in. They raised the money, they sent the stuff down, and they put the playground together right outside our Center of Hope. So when the women are in getting nutritional education or any sort of pre-postnatal care, their children can play on the swings. Well, this was, you know, for years and years, Pumping Iron with Pam. It was kind of cute. It was Pam Akins. This was vitamin distribution. You know, very little vitamin A once or twice a year can prevent blindness in a child. Just a few pennies worth of vitamin A. What a difference you could make for somebody. Allen's Ambulance, you can see a regular, this is a typical ambulance on the left. So if you're in some kind of distress, people have to carry you into town. So Alan Hurst was a district governor, and he raised money for Allen's Ambulance, we called it. Had a matching grant with Fairfield, feeding all the kids in a school because kids don't get food. So that was excellent. Acamil this is a high protein gruel that it was developed by the Haitian nutrition department along with one of our forgot which school it was here, but it's really highly nutritious, full of protein. They've discovered that if a child eats a bean, they can't get as much protein out of the bean than if it's ground. If you grind the bean into a powder and then you turn it into this, it almost tastes like stovetop stuffing. It's delicious. And so we're trying as much as we can to buy from local farmers and keep the money in the country as much as possible. A few more Rotarians over the years. It seems like every trip we had different Rotarians there. And they do what they can. If Mitch Quintner's a dentist, so he did dental all week. Jim Lang was a magician. He was showing all the kids magic all week. It was a really fun week. Because a lot of the time it's not necessarily even what you can do when you're there, but it's when you get back. That's what we always say to people, that when you get back, that's when your job starts. Because I'm Marilyn Lowney. I'm a professional fundraiser. You're going to believe me? No, but you're going to believe Mitch Quintner, who's been your friend for 25 years, to say this place is, sometimes it's almost like you're a used car salesman, because there's a lot of charities that have problems, but I'm very proud of ours. Benson's Buds, when Dick Benson passed away, we started a tree nursery in his memory, which is what gives more hope than a garden or a tree that's going to give you food. This is the most recent thing. Quite a few of the Rotary clubs in our area got together and did a packing of this food. So it shows the packing and Bill putting it on, getting cooked, and then the kid eating it. A very excellent, nutritious food. All right, now I saved our public health outreach for the end, because now I'm going to talk a little bit about COVID. In addition to our clinic, I mentioned that there are some people that live in the mountains. They're called health agents. These health agents live out in the villages where they care for their people. So they live in the village and they care for between 1,500, 2,000 people. They do all the birth and deaths. They keep track of the vaccinations. You can see here, deworming. So what happens is, on a regular basis, other healthcare providers, nurses, and doctors will go out and do a public health post day. You can see the bottom left, they're doing a pharmacy. You pack up your stuff on the back of a mule a lot of times, go across the river. And these are the people who have been hugely involved with our COVID education. You can see community education, how it's changed. Our health agents used to be able to educate several hundred people at a time, and now it has to be, I think it's no more than 8 at a time is the country limit, and they have to be 6 feet apart. So we continue to do our work. It just has to be a little slower. We can't vaccinate 200 people in a day anymore, which is a little bit, I'm not talking about the COVID vaccination. I'm talking about general, the regular vaccinations. Some of the challenges we talked about already, the sanitation, malnutrition is rising again because the food just isn't available, very expensive. In terms of how much COVID there is in the country, it's really hard to tell because there's no testing that we know of. So they said something about 10,000 confirmed cases out of a country of 11 million. But I'm not going to really comment on that, because if you see the way people live, it doesn't make any sense. The other thing is, a bar of soap is right now $3.50. People make about $2 a day. So if you think about whole day work, 2 days working pretty much to get 1 bar of soap. Fortunately, our country director, she's got a master's in global health. She started middle of February, boom, before the United States, really, mid-February. She was ordering PPE, she was ordering the Clorox, she was ordering, and thank God she did, or we would not have gotten it, because it ended up being like gold. But she did all of these different things. We've got local people sewing masks. For our health staff, of course, we have the N95s. We have the shields if they need it. But for the local people in the marketplace, we've got and that helps people a little bit, getting a little bit of money. We designed and printed quite a few flyers. I'll show you those. One of the ways we do education is from the back of a truck. As you go through town and you've got a megaphone and you stop by an open marketplace and tell them about staying 6 feet apart. And we've noticed that people listen when they're coming back from the marketplace. They've spaced themselves. I just got a whole bunch of photos of food distribution. Everyone's wearing a mask. So, and at least in our catchment, people are listening because they trust us. This is one of that. We've shared this with quite a few other organizations in the United States and Haiti, just a little bit about transmission in the local language, a little bit about hand washing, people demonstrating there how to properly wash your hands. We've been putting up hand washing stations around town, giving them soap and water. We've been giving away a lot of hygiene kits that has soap and powdered Clorox in it. We've been giving out a lot of emergency food kits. Some of our donors, some of our partners, some of the costs, obviously none of this is in anybody's budget this year. And I'm talking about every charity in the world right now. So some of the ways that people can help, this is all on our website also, how much it is to provide for COVID or any of our other projects. Again, we continue our work just in smaller groups. And that is the end of my presentation. Did I go over? Is it all right? You
are just fine. Don't you worry.
Okay. Good.
And now, I'm sure we'd like to open this up for questions. First, I'd love to thank you for this. That's amazing. The work you do is amazing. The presentation was wonderful, but thank you. I found the website and added it in the chat in case anyone is interested in following up with that. I know you said you had trouble sharing the presentation. After the meeting is over, I'll reach out to you and we'll figure out a way we can get our hands on it so we can distribute that to the membership as well.
Okay.
Larry, I see. Why don't you go right ahead? And everyone else, you know how to raise your hands and get my attention. So, Larry, why don't you go ahead?
That was phenomenal, Marilyn. I played soccer at Ithaca College. There was a Haitian on the team. His first name was Butler. He was the most amazing soccer player I've ever encountered in my life. He didn't finish up, but my question is, does your staff speak Creole and/or French? Is that necessary?
Yeah, our staff is 99% Haitian, local Haitian. So they all speak Creole, and most speak French. French is usually if you're educated formally, but most people speak Creole. The only people that are Americans down there or expats we have a Cuban radiologist, he's an ultrasound technician, but our country director she's American, originally from Venezuela. And then her husband is down there and he does with a lot of our physical plant. And then we have a finance director from Venezuela. Other than that, everyone's Haitian. And quite a few of the staff have been there since 1987 when we formally opened the clinic. So we've got this longevity and this amazing institutional knowledge from these people who have been there forever. And I think probably the most important thing is the trust of the community, because they don't see us as an NGO. They see us as a friend who's trying to help. We're a neighbor. So fortunately, we're a hospital. So if people are angry at the government, they're not angry at us. We're trying to help. So, yeah.
I imagine that's a big challenge for folks, is the trust aspect. And the fact that you've been there for a long time seems to help a lot with that. Margie, why don't you go ahead? You're on mute, just so you know.
Marilyn, what do you do about getting clean water now?
Well, for our clinic, at the clinic, we have a water filtration using salt, and they have a whole filtration that comes in. So we have a water truck that we fill up at the local river, and then we fill a cistern at our clinic. And then the cistern goes through so when we go there, we can technically drink from the faucet. But again, in the kitchen, we usually put it through another filtration for when Americans come down. But when we give out water, so we have a 3-bucket system that we'll give. I don't think there was a picture of that in the Happy House. That's part of the Happy House. It's a little 3-bucket, almost like that bio sand. Like I'm sure you've heard of it, the sand. gravel. It goes through and catches impurities. So that is what we do, because our water truck also fills up a lot of local poorer neighborhoods. We go down and we have people, they can fill their buckets so they don't have to. But that is up to them. The water's not very clean.
Has Rotary done any work on water there? Any of the clubs?
I think so, not through us though, because we already have so much going on. If we were going to start to get, we've had some of the biosand filters in the past. That was a little bit of we had a few of those put up, but that was in relation with a man who's not there anymore. A lot of people are leaving Haiti too. A lot of the charities are leaving, especially now with the violence. It's quite, it's not very safe for people. And I'm not even just talking about white people, because you're down there, you're white, you're American, people know there's a lot of kidnapping. And not our people. Our people are peaceful. All they want is a better house, a better life for their family. Talking about these bad guys, and they'll kidnap a fruit vendor for $5. Everyone's very, very desperate. So that's why security, we're happy to be friendly with people. And I mean, you wouldn't in Colorado, you guys wouldn't go and close down your local hospital. That's who you want. That's where you want to go if you get shot. So how far is it from the river? The river's pretty close. It's pretty close to our clinic. We go down and we have a big truck with a fire hose and we put it on reverse. And we're also the local fire department for Jeremy. So they call our water truck in because the fire department is up on great, it doesn't have any wheels. There's a big, beautiful fire engine without any wheels. So we have been called to reverse the water and put fires out. And so our local Norwich fire chief gives us hose all the time. And I've been looking to get a hat. I really want our they haven't given me a hat yet, but I really want to send one down for our country director's husband, because he would be into that, But.
Lori, I see your hand up.
Hi, Marilyn. Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm kind of curious how you interface with the Haitian government with all the political stuff going on. And I know you talked about the people don't view you as an adversary, but I'm just wondering how the government works with you and views you.
Yeah, the government is really happy. Like, we work with the Ministry of Health. They're thrilled that we're there. They're very, very happy because we're efficient in what we do. So we work a lot with the local people. We don't work so much with Port-au-Prince because the local people can sign our paperwork. But in general, our name is pretty well known, and they're happy because we do get numbers in and we get things done. So we try to work with them as we need to, because we are a foreign organization in their country. So we abide by all of their rules. And like I said, with maternal leave, say, or sick leave, or, we follow every rule. There's actually quite stringent workplace rules for a country with such high unemployment. But yes, so we're cautious. Of course, we're quite cautious. We never engage in any sort of what's the word? Bad. We don't corruption. We are not corrupt at all. We put in the numbers, what we put in, but they're happy. They're happy that we're there in their town. Like, we've helped, for example, the local police. We helped them get an internet connection with a really simple little booster. They had no connection. So they're happy with us. They let us know if there's problems in town. If there's ever a manifestation where people are angry at the government, they direct them so they don't come past our clinic. And one time they came past our clinic, and the guy on the megaphone's going, "Leave HHF alone. Don't throw any rocks at HHF," because people are angry, but it's not against us. So we actually, and after the hurricane, say in 2016, we gave a lot of food to the local Ministry of Health people and a lot of the local policemen, because they're expected to help you, but their houses went down too. their families are hurt too. So we try to be a good neighbor. And we try to not engage, but we engage as much as we have to, if that makes sense.
Great. Thank you very much.
Carl?
Presentation and information. Thank you. You mentioned the hurricane. I was going to ask what the impact on your operation was and how you recovered from the earthquake.
It hit us directly. I won't say the earthquake. No, the earthquake was Port-au-Prince, but the hurricane, it went right over Jeremy and it stayed there for hours, just making destruction. So I was actually on BBC News. It was crazy because Jeremy was right in the middle, and it really affected a lot of food. A lot of trees were damaged that still aren't back. It is nature, so it is slowly coming back, but a lot of trees were damaged and aren't fruiting now. We were fortunate at the time that at least a lot of people did come in to try to help the international world, as opposed to now, because everybody's got COVID. There's no, but yeah, it really affected us very, very badly. We lost a lot of roofs, a lot of houses. Like those first houses I showed you, we lost a lot of those. Those were just flattened. But then our happy houses, unless a tree physically hit them, they stayed up, and sometimes we lost a roof. So we started a program of re-roofing so that we could get roofs back on top. But yeah, roofs and, oh yeah, that's the thing. Nadesha was on the BBC News. Yeah, she talks about it. She said it was like a bomb. It's almost like a bomb was hit in town.
We can share that video with the group after the meeting is officially concluded. Paula? You're on mute, Paula.
Story of my life. First of all, thank you. This was so informative. My question is, when you send supplies, I understand that you try to buy as much as you can, but when you send supplies down, how do they safely arrive?
Yeah.
And how do you protect them?
We send 40-foot containers, the big container trucks. So we load them here. We're collecting supplies all the time. We're collecting things like canned foods, soap. That's a really good question because it's really difficult. It's easy enough to get the container down there, send it down. Once it's in Port-au-Prince, getting it through customs is very, very difficult. We work with our security firm to do it. It usually takes several weeks. But we have an excellent security firm, and they make sure that it comes out. They usually take they used to take the whole container, and it would go over the road 7 hours to Jeremy and come to our clinic. And we would actually unseal it, because when it's here in Connecticut, we seal it, and that can't be broken so that nothing can get stolen. Now we have to take it, we have to unpack in Port-au-Prince, because we can't have that container go over the road anymore, because there's too many people that are desperate that want to stop that container and steal it. So instead, we put them into little box trucks. We bring it to our secure yard in Port-au-Prince, little box trucks, and slowly, one at a time, send them over the road, keeping in touch with our security who know if there's any problems along the way. And they come up with clever ways to do it.
So you don't have security accompanying each truck?
We do.
Oh, you do? Okay.
We do. Yeah, security would do that. Yes. Yeah, and we send a manifest of what's on the container. They get a list of everything that's on it, so then they can compare it at the other side. And so far, knock on wood, we haven't had any loss.
So how often do you ship a container?
Normally 4 times a year, normally quarterly. From February until end of August, we didn't send anything because we couldn't congregate people here to even pack this stuff. But we did get one early September. We got 6 or 7 really strong guys. Normally I have 30 people. I have kids, I have high school students, they're doing the boxes. And no, just the strong. I didn't even come. I said, you don't need me there telling jokes. You know, really. They're like, we do. But you don't need more COVID, potential COVID in the air. But so far we've sent 3 since September, because one of them is a man in Illinois, and he sends us a container full of soy. He's got barrels of soy that's just excellent. People love it. They prepare it almost like a ground beef. You can fry it, or you can usually fry, pack it into a little patty, and full of great protein. So we've had 3. We're looking to do another one when another one of soy. Again, we do try to get as much as possible in the country, but we also don't want to. One of the fears we had, especially in the last year, is that we don't want to sell out the marketplace. If people come in and they give to the, we could easily go and buy out the marketplace. Well, what are the people in town supposed to buy? So we're very careful with that. So we try to, we have the ability to bring it in safely from Port-au-Prince. We'll do that. Even the DR.
Thanks. We have time for 2 more quick ones. We'll go with Philip and then Ian.
Marilyn, thanks. Great presentation. How far outside of Jeremy do you work? Do you guys go into like as far south as Lake Kai and stuff?
We're almost to Lakai. We're sort of a circle around it. So we're Jeremy and 104 rural villages, but we have people come in as far away as Don Marie.
The only reason I ask is because Free the Kids, or Village Espoir, is through Rotary. My former club, I've gotten a well dug down there at an orphanage that has 550 kids.
Nice.
And I don't know if you've thought about maybe having a well built on the property. That way you have your own water. Because that would.
Did, yes. In fact, we did. We had 4 wells drilled. We were supposed to have 5. That was about 10 years ago. So we do get some water from that we're able to mix. One of them was, that was difficult because it was really hard for them to get the truck to us. It took about 2 years. They wanted to get commitments from at least 5 other places in our area to even bring the truck up to, because we're so far out. And then the truck came up and broke down right in our front yard. And then they were trying to charge us to fix it. We're saying, no, it's your truck. But it'd be interesting if you could email me the name of the well drilling, because I will definitely keep it in my files for if we ever would want to have another one.
Perfect. I'll shoot you a private message.
And I love your COVID beard.
That's normal. That's not COVID.
I like it though. Call it your COVID beard.
Ian?
Unmute. Hi, Marilyn. Great presentation. Years ago when I was in college, I went on a mission trip to the Dominican Republic to Tres Brazos, which is a little barrio, shantytown barrio outside of Santo Domingo. And we stayed in a convent, and you mentioned the history of the interaction with Mother Teresa and some of the sisters.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help but be struck by the stark difference in that country, in that community, of how that faith-based organization was a real pillar in that poor community. And there was you can't tell, I use a wheelchair, so it was kind of fun. I get out there in the morning, start building houses and making ramps and stuff, and the whole community would come out and just be chattering. It just became this community affair. And I wonder, coming back to America, it's just not, I don't know, it's almost like the apathy and complacency take their toll in some ways on a community and the way a community comes together. And I was wondering if you could speak to that a little bit with the history that you shared in interacting with some of the faith-based organizations as you got established.
Yeah, I mean, we work with anybody who wants to work with us. So for right now, for example, we're part of a grant with the CDC that helps with teaching about malaria, and we're going to start one teaching with COVID. And one of the things that we've seen over the years, is that we'll work with, say, a pastor or a priest to get public health messages out, because the people are in church. So they'll say, hey, I want everyone to know that HHF is having a health day on Tuesday. Everybody come out. So they use us. We've worked with them definitely to get messages out, because it's difficult. You're not just putting it on TV. How do you get messages out? The other thing is we'll work with it doesn't have to be of course, a pastor. We've worked with the voodoo community also because they have a certain patient that we're working with, and we were training a few voodoo people on COVID. They want to know how to prevent it. That we worked with them with cholera. So definitely there's this sense of community that you don't, when we come back from Haiti, we call it re-entry. I know me and my sister do, because it's like people really take for granted all of the goodness that they have. And I'm normally a pretty funny person. I remember coming back, and the day after I came back, a friend said, "Oh, I broke a nail." And I said to her, "Give me your hand, I'm going to break the rest of them off." And she's looking at me like this. I'm thinking, I don't give a damn about your nail, Fran. You know, I just watched people just dying of. That's why when I say when I'm 14, Haiti slapped me across the face. It did, because you're so selfish at that age. You're really, give me an adolescent. They're the worst. And I consider myself in that group. So, but yeah, definitely you have to work with the different community groups. Right now we're working with two groups right in our town to try to get more food and help to them. And one of them's run by a Catholic priest. So we get along with him very well. So Catholic Church, the other thing, I thought you were going to ask me about the difference between the DR and Haiti, because it's so stark and it's the same damn landmass. And there have been a lot of reasons for that. One of them is that Spain took over the DR, and they were not, the president for years really wanted to protect the trees. And in Haiti, they didn't. They just tore trees down. Boom, 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 deforestation. Even the topography of the place, that Haiti, Dominican Republic gets nice, gentle rain, and Haiti gets the sweeping, blinding rain that takes all the topsoil away. So it's incredible how it really is an incredible situation, that one body of land is just so different. But I see your back, so that means I have to shut up.
Well, it's hard to ask you to stop, because I think everybody's still leaning in, waiting to hear more from you.
I'm so approachable. If anyone wants to call me and just do a Zoom, I'm happy to answer any other questions.
So great. Thank you, Marilyn. I'm going to include your website and your Facebook, the BBC interview, in our write-up. I'll also put your presentation in, so we'll have lots of opportunities for people to reach out to you.
Nice.
Thank you so much for that presentation.
Yeah.
Just to give you a little insight, Loretta got off, but she put in $10 to our good news, which is what's coming up next, for your presentation. And she said she also already made a donation online.
Oh.
And then Heather Martin also got off and put in $10 for a fabulous presentation. So maybe you and I'll connect, and we'll figure out a little bit more how to put more into our write-up on you.
Definitely.
And then we're going to move into good news next, which we would love to have you stay on for. And if you have to get off, we totally.
I want to hear the good news.
Yeah. Please stay.
Okay, I'll mute myself now.
Hazel is going to run that. And just so you know, last week we raised $453. Thank you for running today's good news, Hazel.
You're so welcome. So good to see everybody. And Marilyn, I just so thank you for your presentation. And through your whole thing, I was like, just you and your organization are so incredibly resilient, and one thing after the other. So good news. We do good news instead of, I honestly don't know what instead of it is. Something not so fun and fellowship-y. And it is to raise money for scholarships. And personally, when I think about the seniors this year that were seniors in 2020, 2021, I think it would be amazing if we could scholarship them a boatload of money. And that amazing committee headed by Tiffany is just starting. So I will kick us off and put in $40 for our scholarship for our amazing seniors that had this interesting year to finish their high school time. And I see Karen hand up. Yay, Karen.
Hey, Marilyn, wonderful presentation. Really makes you think about how blessed we are. Sorry, Ange, that's for you. And then in light with the tears, also today, January 12th, 1947, my parents got married. So today they are celebrating their 74th wedding anniversary. And I'd like to put in $74 to honor them.
Thanks, Karen. We honor them too. That's pretty amazing. Tim, I see hands in the corner.
Marilyn, thanks for that great presentation. That was really awesome. I want to contribute $60 as our son James just turned 6 months and he's doing great. And it's kind of got through our busy season. And he's just a real joy of an age. And we're just very thankful and glad to be here today.
Thanks, Tim. So you said 60, not 6, right? So
yeah, 60.
We're 10xing all birthday celebrations. Angie, I see hand up.
I'd like to thank Marilyn for a wonderful presentation and then give $20 for good news because I'm going to get vaccinated on Friday.
So amazing.
Hazel, Sarah Loughran has her hand up.
There we go. I'm off mute. So January 10th, which would have been Sunday, right? Yes, Sunday. My dad's birthday, and he would have been 101. Unfortunately, he passed away when he was 90. But in honor of him, I will give $101 to the good news.
Amazing.
Thanks, that's awesome. Mark, who do you got?
I see Steve Jensen waving frantically. He's got something important to share.
Oh, I just wanted to say that today I am retired as of 9:00 a.m. when a new DA administration was sworn in Jefferson County, and I moved out. So after 33 years of working at the DA's office, I am now gainfully unemployed and feeling good about it. I'm not sure if I'll look to do something else or not, but as of right now, I'm just going to relax and enjoy a steamboat. So put me down for $33, one for each year that I worked as a DA in Jefferson County.
Thanks, Steve. Congratulations.
And thank you
for serving. That's exciting. And I see like a treadmill calling your name behind you.
I haven't been using it as much as I should lately because I've been out cross country skiing every day, and they're having a tequila party for me tonight, so I probably won't make it out there, and I have to change my phone, get my phone number changed to Verizon, but I'll make good use of it before the Steamboat Marathon comes.
Awesome. Thanks. And I a little bird told me Ron Tom may have something to add.
That was me. Oh, there he is. I thought you had gotten disconnected, Ron. Sorry, go ahead.
I did. You guys are gonna have to forgive me. I'm old and decrepit, but I have a new partner. I don't know. Can you see him? Can you see that guy?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I called a friend of mine that raises poodles and was looking for a puppy, and she said, "I don't have any puppies, but I've got a 7-year-old stud that I'm retiring." So that's Reuben, and Reuben is the largest poodle breed there is. It's called a Red Royal Standard, and he's a big boy. He's a lot of fun, and he's real loud.
And super studly.
He is super studly. They gelded him before they gave him to me, of course. Thank God. Anyhow, if you can put me down for $20 in good news, I would appreciate it. I'm not sure how you do that, but do it and put it on my bill.
Yeah, we got it taken care of.
Yeah.
I love it. I don't know how
If it came to money, you would.
Thank you.
Great presentation. Wonderful.
I see lovely Tiffany.
Hi, friends. Karen Schneider, I'm right there with you. I was holding back tears for most of that presentation. Marilyn, thank you so much for bringing our awareness to it. We'll stop with that one. I also have tears for my friend and family friends, Scott Bernstein. If any of you know about his quick demise, he passed away last night. So sorry to be the downer on the good news, but if you want to give Mary a shout out, I'm sure she would love to hear from you. And the good news is both of my kids are back at college. So we're down to the two of us. And it's exciting to start 2021 next week. That's when I'm thinking it's gonna start. So Ange put me down for 21 for 2021.
Thanks, Tiffany, for sharing.
Thanks, Mark. Mark just put at his Caring Bridge site, so that's a way to connect with that family if you're so inclined.
I'm not seeing anybody else, Well, I'm not seeing anybody else, Tiffany or Hazel. Any last words?
Yeah,
Hands up.
I'll chime in. Ange, if you could put me down for $15. My good news is I found a place to live. So anybody out there that was helping me look for somewhere to live, I have landed in Hayden in a nice little one-bedroom apartment for Zuma and I. And it's been a long time coming. I've been I lived out in the mountains all summer and been bouncing around with friends and family for the last couple months. So it's good to be settled and still working out the logistics on getting these puppies to their new homes with all the pandemic restrictions. There's quarantines and testing, but the puppies are safe and they're healthy, and we'll look forward to bringing that next generation of German Shepherds in and letting people meet them soon.
Ian, you need any sketchy ramps assembled out there?
You know, I just a little teeny one. There's one little stuff. I just pop up it, but I'll keep you in mind. That's fun. Yeah.
I mean, or don't if the last one was no good.
Yeah.
All right, I think that might be it, Hazel.
Jillian was saying something.
She's always waiting to weigh in last. She always wants the last word.
The capper. Is Paula still on? Paula Black?
Yes.
I want to put in another 10 for the suspenders. I'm assuming that's what it is, and I'm so jealous. Those look so cool.
They're overalls.
Nice. Love it. Isn't that same suspender? Yeah. And you can go like this.
They're overalls.
I love it. $10 more for me, so 50.
Thanks, Hazel.
Wearing your hot pants today, Hazel?
No, I'm going to rock those the first meeting we are in person.
All right. Good.
If I can zip them up.
I'm pretty sure Chuck is wearing hot pants down there. Just off screen.
Let's see him, Chuck. All right. I'm going to put in $10 for a great presentation. I don't think I'm much of a crier, but I was definitely tearing up at your presentation. Thank you for being here with us. Margie, thank you for introducing us to Marilyn.
Thank you. I want to say too that you all reminded me back in April, I had one of my first Zoom Rotary meetings, and I was just in this COVID sadness, and I came in the meeting, and this one's talking about mass distribution and this one's talking about food distribution, all that, and I started crying for the sake of, and now they said it's time for you to present. I said, you have to give me a minute because I'm sorry, just from the goodness of Rotary. I'm looking at all these faces. I don't know any of the people, and they're all talking about these proactive things. And so that was happy tears. That was happy not giving up tears. You know, I'm just so impressed with Rotary. I really am. So.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome back anytime.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to teach Margie the song.
We had a quick board meeting yesterday. I'm going to give you some pretty quick updates on that. Brett Allison is working on the January happy hour. He would like to do it at the T-bar. So he's going to be sending something out where we can meet outside at the T-bar and socially distance and have a little FaceTime. Carl Gills is working on revisions to the bylaws. So the board is offering some feedback on that right now, and we will eventually have a vote on that when it's finalized. And then Hazel was nice enough to highlight how important our scholarship committee is. And I'm really just want to share how proud the whole board is of this club. Right now, we are over $20,000 in the scholarship fund. So I think that committee is going to have a great time this year, giving out lots of scholarships to some really brave seniors. So thank you all for contributing and continuing to contribute and share your good news and share your lives with us here. That is it for the meeting, unless anybody else wants to get in the last word, Mark. And we'll stay on for a little while and chit chat if anybody wants to stay on.
And I'm happy to share that video from the
oh yeah, that'd be fun.
The hurricane that I found. Let me see what I can do with that. Oh, hold on. I shared my whole darn screen there, didn't I? Here we go.
Now to the story about the devastation caused by Hurricane Matthew in Haiti. I'm joined on the phone from the virtually destroyed town of Jérémie by Nadesha Mehoba. She's the local director of the Haitian Health Foundation. Thank you for joining us. Just tell us what the situation is where you are now.
Well, what I can say is widespread devastation. Thousands of people have lost their homes and everything they own in the city of Jérémie and surrounding mountains. In fact, most of our employees, and we have about 184 full-time employees, have lost their homes completely and all they own. We have undetermined numbers of deaths, but what we do know of the information that has been coming in, we have the town of Beaumont, for example, had 325 deaths, apparently a lot of children. Another area we serve, Castillon, had about 35. Jérémie has reported about 2 deaths in the area of Caracoli, which is a small neighborhood. And one of our major concerns right now is the cholera that is developing and the infections of injuries that were sustained as a result of the hurricane.
I mean, we're looking at pictures at the moment of people in hospital. What is the situation with that now? Are there medical supplies? Are people able to get to see doctors and get the help they need?
Well, San Antoine, which is our local hospital, is a bit overwhelmed with patients that are showing up with cholera and patients also with, wounds from the hurricane. The supplies are limited, no sufficient staff to serve the needs. In fact, some of our Haitian Health Foundation staff has been assisting down there while they've seen patients here at our clinic. They also go down to the hospital to assist there with the hospital doctors and nurses. But it is limited. I do know that teams are beginning to come in. CARES Foundation has been working with us to facilitate the arrival of nurses and doctors. In particular, the communities out in the mountains, which we have about 145 small villages, have not received any care whatsoever. And that's where we are going to begin the mobilization over the next 24 hours or so, really to assess what's going on and determine the level of need and care that has to be delivered out to the mountains. Only by motorcycles and then walking. We had a community health worker that arrived after 14 hours of walking to let us know the devastation in one of our villages, and everybody has lost their home in that town.
I mean, it is hard to imagine. You paint such a picture there. Health workers walking 14 hours to try and reach people. I mean, how are people managing day to day? It must be just horrific.
I can tell you, this is Jeremy. It's a wonderful area. People are in the midst of, poverty and what we know of Haiti. There's always music playing and people are engaged, but it's deathly quiet right now. And when you go out walking in the streets, what you see really is what I would describe as shock in people's faces. What I can say is that nobody was imagining that the place would be devastated, decimated the way it has been.
Well, we really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us, Nadesha Mihoba. Just please stay safe and thank you again.
Nice light note to end our meeting on. It's really remarkable the work that they do down there and the breadth of their operation. Seems like they've got fingers and pies all over the place.
The club in Fairfield that I came from, we would send our doctors down there. They would go for sometimes a month from our club because we had a lot of doctors in the club. We had dentists, we had a surgeon, and so we got to know it really well. And this has been going on for a long time, as a member a long time. So I knew that the club would be affected by it because it's really, what they've done there is amazing.
Yeah, Marilyn's pretty remarkable. Was she a club member or was she not affiliated with your club there?
Club member up where she is. She came and spoke to the club. So when I was president, I did the food. I made sure that we raised enough money and we fed the school for a year because those are the only food that those kids get, some of them. So, and they would come to school because they would get food and then they would bring home whatever leftovers there was. So, but when I wasn't president anymore, we didn't do it anymore, which was sad.
Jim, it's good to see you back. We missed you last week. Were you up enjoying a powder day? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
No, I just had to take a nap, but I've been skiing 6 days a week. Every week it's been open. We desperately need snow. It's just sad.
Yeah. I see John nodding a lot about that. Oh boy.
Yeah, we only have 1 wire of snow. We should have 3 or 4. So we need a lot of snow.
Well, things can change quickly, as you know well.
Yeah. Hope not too quick like last winter.
So I have a question. If we have that much money already in our scholarship fund, and I bring this up every year, why don't we, because our high school, there are so many organizations that fund scholarships at our high school and other schools. I'm wondering why we don't help students somehow financially in their second and third years, because that is always harder to come by for those kids. And I think I would love for the scholarship committee to come up with some criteria that allows a student to reapply, maybe for a lesser amount or whatever for their second year. It can be based on grades, it can be based on community participation, that sort of thing. I just, given that this community gives, and I don't know what the total was last year, but a tremendous amount of money to kids, I'd love to see us help one kid go through technical school. That's something I believe strongly in, that we shouldn't abandon kids after their first year in either college, community college, or a technical school.
It's funny you should bring that up because it was something similar was mentioned at the board meeting yesterday. Not quite following the student, from year to year throughout their college career, but kind of a larger impact grant or that possibility because of the funds we've been able to raise this year. I just looked to make sure that the scholarship money from Good News, the money from Good News going to scholarships is not in the bylaws, it's a policy. So that money does go directly to scholarships per policy. Policies are pretty simple to change, but right now there's nothing preventing the scholarship committee from setting up kind of a longer term scholarship. So
I know that, go ahead, I'm
I
sorry,
was just gonna
finish,
say,
Mark.
it's really up to the committee. And I'd suggest you bring it up with Tiffany as an option.
Angela, does that include the amount I gave you yesterday? Because
20,000, the 20,000 does, yes.
I gave her $5,000 for a specific scholarship in Barbara's in my name for a female going into the first year. So it's somewhat distorted because you only had that offer for 2 years.
Well, that's very kind of you, Jim, but I go back to years ago, we did offer to support our original scholarship students through over their first year. It's just something I think we might want to consider.
Paula,
And
like just in those, because when we did do that, there was definitely, I think what was happening was that pot of money started to get smaller and smaller for scholarships that were taking place right then and there. And the amount that we were giving out was like $200 for somebody or $300, which is still money for maybe one book, or, it's still like money that was helpful. But I think what happened was that since we'd been doing it for such a long time of continuing to support those students, it was just that pot was getting small, and we were going through the recession, and we were only getting $12,000 a year for Good News. The fact that we have $15,000 is the most I've ever seen, other than, and I'm not talking what Jim's doing is really like, that's awesome. So I'm like excluding that out of there, and just talking about the 15 that we've raised. It's the most I've ever seen, and it's only 6 months into the year. But it's definitely, it's up to the committee, and the committee has gone back and forth depending on who.
I'm not disagreeing with what you suggest, Paula, at all. Our foundation, our Water Ski and Wake Sports Foundation, just gave out 25 scholarships this year, totaling, I don't know, $50,000 or something. And my complaint has always been these scholarships are meaningless in this day and age, because when I went to college, I went to private college for 4 years. It cost me $20,000 for 4 years, room, board, tuition before my scholarship. Whereas now the same place charges $200,000 to $250,000 for 4 years. So when we're giving out scholarships for $500 and $1,000, that's meaningless, which is why they apply for scholarships from so many different entities in Steamboat Springs, whereas the Water Ski Foundation, it's a national organization. So this is it, this is what you get, but whatever works. But I think there have to be greater amounts per student to begin with.
I think it's a good idea, Paula. I visited a couple of clubs across the country, and that's what they do. They do 1 or 2 scholarships for $5,000 or whatever that amount is, and then they keep it going based on their grades. If the kids keep their grades up, then they get the same amount the next year, and it helps them through. Especially like Jim's saying, that it's so expensive to go to school these days.
Well, one other consideration, and I don't mean to butt my nose into the business of people that are doing the hard work, but I know that when you give a kid a scholarship and they receive a scholarship from their university, 9 times out of 10, they deduct whatever they've received from the outside from their scholarship. It's one of the reasons why when we established the Jack Black Fund, not the Rotary Fund, but the Jack Black Fund, it started out as a scholarship fund. And once I realized that was happening, and then the IRS changed their rules where we couldn't give students money for books and things like that, it had to go right to the university. We switched it to dealing with youth programs. But yeah, it's scholarships is an interesting conundrum all the way around. And I don't want to tell the committee what to do or whatever. That's just my thoughts.
I'm sure we all wish we could support more people at a higher level for a longer period of time. Because
I'd settle for 1 or 2 for 4 years, but again, I'll keep my mouth shut.
Well, another trend we've noticed with the Water Ski Foundation is if someone, let's say, changes his scholarship or her scholarship up from 1,000 to 2, it encourages the other donors, because there are specific donors for each of the 25 scholarships, to up his or her amount, and thereby, and that was one of my hopes with the scholarship to Rotary, that maybe that would up the others. And I've also done a similar scholarship with a Steamboat Springs Winter Sports Club, which started last year for women for $5,000, which was not possible because of the NCAA. So it goes to a graduate student. But the hope is that other people who are donating will raise the amount to make the scholarship more meaningful. Because frankly, $500 scholarship.
Yeah.
Well, I'd encourage any of you with further thoughts on this to reach out to Tiffany and join the scholarship committee.
Or at least share those thoughts.
For sure.
Yeah. Because they do come back and look at, I mean, it's changed. I don't know how many times now since, and I haven't been doing the books that long, but it's changed at least twice since I've been doing it, you know?
Yeah, we've got a greater opportunity this year than we have in the past. That maybe it's time to consider how we can make an impact.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm on the committee, and I think it would be interesting to, again, look at the policy, and because we are weighing a lot of different things like need and service and, you know, their interview skills and their achievements in school. And we always, each year, we're like, what matters the most, and it's almost like, what is our come from position with this? So I think it's worth just some discussion, because we, you know, we do that every year.
Yesterday, Susie said that without approval of the board, that you could give up to $4,000.
Per award, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think certainly since I've been involved, which is, I guess, the last 2 years, our goal has been to give a more substantial amount to fewer people than,
yeah,
you know, that's where we've started. Like, let's actually make a difference. Then we haven't, you know, given 10 people $200.
Yeah.
Math is probably off, but.
Oh, hold on, let me plug that into a calculator for you.
Or 100 people.
You think it's, oh my gosh, I said, do you think it's worth it to seek individual donors for scholarships? Or not, in addition to what you do with Good News? Maybe someone else in the name of someone who was with Rotary, who's deceased, would like to do a scholarship. I don't know, because that's what in our Water Ski Foundation, we accept all kinds of different scholarships for different purposes. I mean, related to college, of course, but in the name of different people.
That's not a bad idea. And certainly it's not something where we need 20 people to chime in year one. It's a program that could grow over time.
That's what we started with 2 or 3, and now we have 25. And we have 9 different types of towed water sports, so that helps. But we just had, actually, he was a designer of snow ski equipment. You may have heard of him, G-O-O-D-E, Good. He makes skis, and what he's known for are ski poles. He had the first carbon graphite ski poles, cost a fortune. Well, he passed away in a private plane crash at age 62, and his wife is starting a scholarship in his name. It's going to be a STEM scholarship because he was very interested in that aspect. And he
And
designs.
what does that look like from your side? Do you have any trouble from an accounting side for this?
Well, the problem is that, I mean, giving to us, to Rotary Club, you don't get a tax deduction.
Yeah.
That there might be better ways of doing that, like with Jim, with you contacting the Steamboat Springs Winter Sports Club, like they are a tax deductible organization. They have a foundation that you can write it to. That would be the piece that I would see would be the problem, is getting out there and saying to people, hey, do you want to donate, $3,000 to college scholarships and write it to the Rotary Club? They're not going to get a tax deduction. And I would think they'd want that tax.
It's interesting because years ago, that was always one of Jack Black's big complaints about Good News was that as he aged, and of course he died very young, but you put in the money for Good News, and I usually round up and you don't get any benefit from it. And I'm wondering if Rotary, when we are doing better, let's put it that way, financially, if it wouldn't be beneficial for us to set up a scholarship fund separate at the community foundation. We could name the people on the scholarship committee as those that oversee it, but then you would have the deductibility of your donation. There are fees involved, so yeah, you'd have to pay the fees that the foundation requires, but at least then that would give you the opportunity, if somebody wanted to start endowing scholarships, to have the benefit
or
and the ability to do that.
Or even at this point, with the amount of people who are billing their Good News to their accounts, I have record. Like if you're putting money into a hat, I have no idea. But if you are billing, it's easy enough to pull that out and give people recognition for donating $250 last quarter to Good News if it was going into the foundation. I guess my one question is, and maybe it's special because it's how our Steamboat Springs Endowment Fund was set up, but we cannot write out checks out of the Steamboat Springs Endowment Fund to individuals for college scholarships. And I just don't know enough. Is that special for our endowment? Like, could we start something at Yampa Valley Community Foundation?
What you would have to do is set up 2 things: a separate fund for scholarships only. You would name the committee as the committee would be the granting committee under the fund at the foundation. But no, does Rotary write their checks to the individuals?
No, well, to the colleges.
Yeah, see,
but you can't even, Steamboat Springs Endowment Fund cannot write out a check to the
no, but what
University
I'm
of
asking
Washington.
is, do our scholarship funds go to the individual or to their universities?
To the university, but it's written by me.
Okay, so it would be the same thing. The foundation, you could not write a check to an individual, but we're not able to do that now anyway, so.
Okay, I misspoke. I meant like, can we write it out to, because I remember Mark Anderson being at a Rotary board meeting a long time ago when we were looking at the college scholarship piece, and was wondering, and he had said that we could not write out checks to the University of Washington or CSU, or that our endowment couldn't do that. But that doesn't stop us from starting a fund at the Yampa Valley Community Foundation where that money could be written out to.
Absolutely.
colleges?
We have like 25 scholarship funds, and the checks are written to the university in somebody's name.
Okay.
I feel horrible because I'm supposed to, Tracy Hyatt from the foundation was supposed to join the meeting today because she wanted a tutorial on how to run Zooms. And I told her I didn't have time before the meeting. She could have been here answering these questions for us.
Well, she'll answer the questions for you anytime.
Yeah, I know. And I'm happy
not to take away from the Rotary focus of these, but I almost feel like we're mixing two different ideas here in terms of good news being incentive for people to share, and it's almost like the Impact 100, right? It's a scholarship fund based on smaller contributions for most of us. You're the exception, Jim. But if you wanted to do a scholarship for a local student, you could write your check. We do a scholarship every year, and we give a check to the scholarship committee at the school. It is tax deductible, and she will either let us review the different applications, or I tell her, here's the criteria of the person that we're remembering, and I would like you, because you know these students so much better than I do, I would like you to choose who is deserving of this. And
I think that's fair what you're saying, and I get what you're saying. I was just suggesting that if we wanted, I was offering suggestions in answer to Jim, that there might be more people who would give more dollars if they could make it tax deductible. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm just saying for people who want to do a larger scholarship, there are ways set up that don't mean us starting another fund. And
gotcha.
I mean, and we could still do that with the fund that we have, but for most people, if you're going to do a $5,000 scholarship, you might want it to come with your name on it, or the person that you're recognizing, instead of through Rotary. And a lot of those people might want the tax deduction too. So there are avenues for that set up already.
I didn't know that. Good to know.
You could do what you're doing now. And also maybe someone would like the John Doe Rotary Scholarship. It still promotes Rotary, but it also is a name of John Doe.
Yeah.
If people are aware that exists, who knows, maybe every year you'll pull in one person who says, hey, my father just passed away. He was a Rotarian. I'd like to start a scholarship in his name.
There
I don't know what you do.
There definitely are opportunities.
Sorry to sort of take us off the rails.
It's fine. There are a lot of opportunities if we were to set up a fund with the community foundation. Someone could endow their own, make a one-time $100,000 donation and endow their own scholarship in perpetuity. So, yeah, there are definitely options for this. I don't know if this would be within the purview of the scholarship committee or kind of external to that. The scholarship committee could still behave the same way if all good news money went to this, potential fund. And if that's easy enough now, because we're doing everything kind of with direct billing anyway. Yeah, I don't know. It seems, there are a lot of details that would need to be worked out, but people could, use planned giving to set up a fund so that, if I was to die tomorrow, part of my life insurance policy goes to the Rotary Fund for scholarships to endow an ongoing scholarship fund. Right now, our organization can't do that. The community foundation can, and maybe working together, we can make that easier for our members to accomplish. Is that me volunteering to figure this out?
Apparently so.
I'm like I'm kind of going over like, now are you doing Jack Black, Paul Harris, and the scholarship fund as an ask from a club? Or like when you die, Mark, are you know, like now are you being asked to choose between Jack Black and the Scholarship Foundation? I'm wondering if we muddy it when we start offering so many different ways, as opposed to saying like, help us build up Jack Black. How much good can we do in the community with that?
That's a good point.
Yeah. I think that the point is that Mark's making is that we're already collecting this money. In the past, it hasn't been trackable because it's so much of it is cash. But now that so much of it is trackable, but for how much longer is it going to be trackable? Like Carl and I, we discussed this at the board meeting last night or yesterday, that you know, when we do go back to being in meetings, it might behoove us to continue doing this sheet of paper during the meeting, because we get a heck of a lot more good news this way than we do by just putting a couple bucks into the hat. But if if this is the way we're going to do it, then it's not that hard to figure out, and people could get a tax deduction for what they're doing for good news. But
it's interesting because we've all gotten so used to nobody uses cash anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
It has to conflict with the Jack Black and Paul Harris funds. It could just be another offering by the scholarship committee. It may not, maybe we won't have them for 10 years, but maybe someone will say, hey, my father died and I'd like to create a scholarship in his name, and I'll let the college scholarship, maybe it'll be specific, like mine is only for women. And then the scholarship committee chooses my winners. There's no reason why the scholarship committee, as long as the person who designed the scholarship says this is what I'm looking for, they can do it equally easily. So I don't think you're right, Jillian. I don't think it should be against the other two major endowments we have. It should be something that someone may mention to the chair of the scholarship committee one day. You know, I'd really like to do this. Okay, we can help you. And
it's not really like, to this point, like I'm not willing to keep track of $5 here and there for every single person. It's not worth you know, Rotary paying me to figure out that $5. But when we're talking a significant amount of money.
Well, I understand that you have two types of good news. Trackable good news is over $100 per person. Untrackable good news is less than $100. Hey.
Yeah, exactly. And if yeah.
I'm kidding. I hope you know that.
But
I thought that's a good idea.
Well, someone's got some work to do.
Well, this isn't
yeah, you know who should do that? The next president.
Yeah. Well, and what's crazy to think is, like, if we bring in another $15,000 at the end of the year, that's $30,000. And like, if you've got people that are donating $250 a quarter, I mean, that's $1,000 that they done to good news that technically isn't tax deductible.
Right.
Yeah.
It's adding up.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that if we get towards May, when you start the scholarship process, if we have $30,000, that maybe we take some of it and hold it back, just because you never know what next year's going to bring. As you said, Angie, it goes up and down and up and down.
Yeah.
And the other option is the way the grant committee, what they're doing next time around, half of their money is going to go for one major grant, and the other half of it is going to go for some lesser grants. Then we meet everyone's needs. You do the same thing as a scholarship committee, for example. Let's say you have 20,000, you offer one $10,000 scholarship, or one 5,000, and divide the other amount for smaller scholarships. There's so many possibilities. It's
You could even say some of that could be put to, like, if you raise over $15,000 a year for college scholarships, if we raise 20, then that other 5,000 could be for students that can come back and access that money that's over and above what we had budgeted to give out.
Oh, interesting. Good idea. Well, this has been a very interesting, enlightening conversation. Thanks, you guys.